Hello fellow Hunters of the Blue, and welcome to my channel, and also welcome to another review. And first of all, let me address that, well, it's not, I haven't put a video in quite a very long time, because, well, life sometimes gets in the way of everything, and it's just what it is. More videos are coming soon, but in the meantime, let's do this festive review. And this review is going to be quite long, because we have 10 entries this month. And if you're asking what is the Royal Retinue review, well, this is the place that I use to give something back to my patrons and channel members for all the amazing support that they give me. If you want to take part in this review, you have to join the Royal Retinue review tier on my Patreon, or become a channel member on that tier. That is the tier Minotaurs or above. Let me talk about the next video. I have the pieces here. It's going to be the first part of a very long, hopefully I don't leave it halfway done, which I usually do, but I'm pretty confident this is going to go well, of a masterclass type videos. I really loved what Darren Latham did in his masterclass of the Nurgle Blight Knight, whatever that is, the Nurgle thing, and I want to do the same. So I'm starting with the very extensive conversion of the new Baya's Revenge of the Emperor's Champion. You have it here. Instead of an orc, we have a chaos possessed, and it's going to be quite awesome. I'm really happy with how it's going, but I have to finish sculpting everything, and I think that it's going to be around maybe next week, hopefully. Fingers crossed about that. In the meantime, well, I've just been working, because as you may or may not know, I am a goldsmith, and sadly or luckily, Christmas time is a very intensive work time for me, so there won't be a lot of videos coming in these kind of dates. You know, it is what it is. So why don't we start the review? I now have two screens. I'm a pro. I also have, well, this is a very long story, but I've been using hard drives. I still use hard drives on my computers, and I just ordered some SSDs. I'm just moving on in life. This is going awesome. Let's move into the main screen here. Hope you can hear me well. I think everything should be going well. We have Jeffrey saying good morning, afternoon in Spain. Just enjoying a very nice day in Florida. I love Florida. We went there in our honeymoon. Fantastic place to be. Nuts, but good at the same time. Highly recommended. Okay. We also have Cleaner Fish, evening you all, and Stephen Beard, who just joined and said, hi Juan, hi. Let's move into the main screen of the review. As I said, we have 10 entries in this instance, and it's going to be quite long, so sit down, make yourself a cup of tea or coffee or whatever, or just open a beer, whatever you want, because we are going to be here for quite a while. Have a bit of water, so if you see me drink, don't be surprised. Okay, we're going to start with Carlos, and Carlos has submitted this quite beautiful Dark Oath chieftain. And if you didn't know, for all of you that are new, Carlos has been submitting since the very first review. That it was, I think, a year and something ago. And his progress has been amazing. This is probably the best thing he has ever painted, and rightly so. This is quite a very beautiful Dark Oath chieftain. Oh, we have new people in the chat. We have Tim, which will see one of his miniatures very soon, and Fimbo, which says hello from snowy Munich, München, or whatever it is in German. I ordered the rosemary and core brushes through your link. Thanks for your recommendation. I really hope they are serving you well. I love those brushes. that's why I recommend them, because I really, really like them. Are the only brushes that I use. So let's jump into the review. As I said, if you want to see how Carlos was painting about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Let me just check, because this is crazy. Oops. Let me just see if I tell you how much time has passed, because I don't know. Okay. I wish I had saved that photo. Well, the first review was... yeah, 2021 was the first review. Yeah. About, yeah. Yep, it was. So, yeah, about a year... well, considering we're finishing about 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So, if you want to see that, go to the first Royal Retinue review and you will see how and what an amazing progress he's been doing. Because not everyone that starts painting is artistically gifted. Some people are, and they have a natural way of doing things. They just have some instinct of doing things, and things just come naturally to them. But others, like Carlos, and I don't mean this as a bad thing, have painting miniatures is challenge. But even if you're not gifted, if you put enough work, you can get very, very far. Hard work is much more important than talent. I know, because I have talent. I don't put a lot of work in anything that I've done ever. Yeah. Okay, so until we move with this review, as I said, best mini he has ever painted. A couple of things that I will probably change. First of all, the metallics, especially on the sword. Let me just grab this. Light gray. Okay. What I would do first is change the way the pattern of highlights and shadows. What I would do is something like this. And opposing it here. Something like that. I personally prefer that to what he has done. It just gives a more interesting look. It's not necessarily realistic, but it just looks cool, and sometimes we just have to go for the cool factor when we are painting. Okay, we have a question from Tanner. Juan, do you have a specific army you prefer painting for a specific reason, and why it's Space Marines? It's not the Space Marines. I only ever fully painted 2 Warhammer armies. One is Lizardmen, which are now Seraphon, and the other is Undead, which will probably it's a mix. I think it's a mix of because I use minis from several ranges, because it's not for Warhammer. I play Kings of War, but my Undead are a mix of Soul Blight and Night Hound. So I love painting those. I also like Bretonnians, and I like High Elves. I used to play Warhammer Fantasy a very long time ago. And speaking of Warhammer 40k, what I like is Eldars. If I had to choose one Space Marine chapter, it would be Dark Angels, because they are the coolest Space Marines. Not that it makes a very big difference. All Space Marines are the same, so except for Ultramarines, which are obviously the worst, because Ultramarines. Let's just move on. There is apart from the sword, the gold I think is pretty good. He showed me this in a previous stage, and he has changed quite a bit of the gold, which was one of my criticisms when he showed me through the Discord server. Another thing that I would like to see change is a little bit more cleanliness, because again we have some spots where he hasn't been very clean, and this can change dramatically how a mini looks if you are careful with your highlights and not just a little bit lazy, because we all want to finish quickly sometimes, and getting to all those details and being careful and doing them slowly can make a very significant difference. So apart from the cleanliness and the those refinements on that area, there is a thing that I see here that I would modify in the how he has approached the muscles, and it's that sometimes this can be quite hard. Sometimes you don't go up to the very edge when doing zenithal highlights. For example, here on the arm, you can see the difference from there to there. It just looks better. Look at it in the big picture. Makes it look more realistic, in my opinion. Same can go for stuff like here on the legs. Just focus. It's very hard because he has a lot of stuff in the middle of other stuff. Okay, here, for example, on the ankle, on the so here, for example, you can go a bit higher, and then because he's a barbarian, you can highlight these ridges in between the muscles. For example, here. You can add a little bit more highlight here. Let me just tone this down a little bit more. It's maybe too much. Something like this. So you can see when you are painting muscles, for example, this is a very big muscle, and instead of highlighting the whole thing, he just went for a small highlight in the middle. I might want to go with a more broader highlight. Of course, you don't have to be so aggressive with highlights, but this is just for demonstration purposes. There you go. Same here for the hand. You can probably pick more of the general volume of the hand with your highlights, rather than just leave like a dark edge on the very top, which detracts from the zenithal thing. And he has done what I just did here. Let me just grab this color. In the chest, he's left like a highlight in the middle, which is realistic, by the way. I know it's maybe counterintuitive, but it's realistic. The problem is he just made it a little bit too wide, so you don't have the shadow on each side, which is very important because it helps define that highlight better. You can see the difference. So you need to be careful when you're doing this. I added those highlights here as well. You can see them there and onto this side of the leg here. Those highlights are caused because the lower part of the recess, like when it's like this, is also reflecting light, because you have your light source here. It's obviously taking on the high spots on the muscles, but it's also hitting just when the recess goes perpendicular to the source of light. Light will also catch there, especially on shiny things, and skin is a bit shiny. It will catch on that recess, and it will make a highlight, and you have to highlight it, because otherwise muscles don't look realistic. So yeah, he did it here, which is a good thing. A bit wide, but it's a good thing. But he didn't do it on the legs, and I think it's important to do them there as well, which is there, for example. There you go. So that's basically all. The skin is fantastic, apart from that tiny detail. I will probably change, as I said, the highlight pattern on the sword just to make it a bit more dramatic, even if it's not realistic. And oh, he did the gems. I don't know if he wanted to do like glowy gems, but I would probably invert how the gems are done. Let me just see if I can do the laziest possible thing. Oh, I think I'm going to be able to do it. Okay. Oops, sorry. Yes. There you go. So I would do it opposite, just opposite. And I will take just some pure white. And make a dot. Oops. Just there. Okay. Just like there. Just like that, instead of the other way around. Let me just combine this 2 layers so I can show the whole effect. So this is his submission. These are my suggested changes for just a little bit of refinement. Most of the things that I would change have on this mini have to do with cleanliness. So making sure that everything is clean. You don't have, for example, as we have here, you don't have like white paint splotching or bone paint splotching onto the recesses of the bone. Stuff like that, just clean and very, very careful. Then you can refine the highlights on the muscles so they are more realistic, especially on the arm here. You can see that it's a bit lacking. You kind of have to go a little bit up to the edge. I think it looks better. You may disagree. You can do like a kind of projected shadow and all stuff, but we're not touching that yet. And yeah, providing changing a little bit of the highlights on the legs so it looks more realistic. But apart from that, it's a fantastic job. And if you see, because I know how hard it is for Carlos to be able to do this. I've been there for the whole journey, and it's very exciting. I'm super proud of him, and he should be proud of himself as well. Very well done. Let's move into the second one. This is Shane. And Shane has submitted a Praetor, I think it's called. This is for a commission, so he is a commission painter, and this is the tabletop standard commission. And for tabletop standard, this is quite amazing. Oh, we have more questions in the chat. Steve said, "I would love to see you paint something historical rather than fantasy. I'm starting to paint bust." And I have a couple of videos planned about painting busts. So that's as far as historical as it will ever go, probably. Tanner says, "Oh man, a Bretonian heavy contrast video would be awesome. I won't do a heavy contrast video because my Bretonian army is going to be painted to the highest standard that I can for an army. And that's why it's not even... It's just barely started. And I will do it whenever I feel like it." Tim says, "Well, didn't know you were a fan of the Death Alliance?" Well, not really a fan. It's just what happened with my undead army is that I needed a new army for an event because I already played that same event the past year with my lizardmen. So I needed a new army. I wanted to paint something new. I only have 5 months. The lizardmen took 5 years to paint. So what I did is I chose an army that I knew that I could paint in that time frame, and I designed everything to fit in those in that time, and undead was just the easiest solution. I like the undead minis; they are really cool, but they are also super fast and easy to paint. You can chuck an army really, really quickly with undead. And yeah, that's why I chose undead. I also like them, but they are not my favorite army of the fantasy style armies. Those would be listed men, Bretonians, and high elves, and then probably Empire. I like a lot of armies, but undead are also there, and they are super cool, super easy to paint, and I love the minis, so that's why I chose them. Okay, let's see. So this is, again, commission tabletop level, which for tabletop level, this is amazing. I mean, if I was paying someone for tabletop level army and this came through the mail, I would be extremely happy. So that is a good thing, because this is basically a business. So I would be a very happy client if that were the case. But speaking of how to make this better, I don't want to go into super technical things, because in the end, again, this is a commission thing. I will just talk about positioning of the highlights. So I like the level of contrast that this has. It has the right amount of contrast in the right places. For example, the sword hilt, just one highlight, super simple. Quite stark, but doesn't matter because it does the job, because the whole attention is centered on here. So what I would do is change where the highlights are positioned. So I would put my highlight here and here instead of on the middle of the plate. Let me just erase this like this. So bringing up the highlights to the very top of the plate there. So you can see, instead of doing it in the middle, I will just go a little bit broader, because you may not want to be that extreme, but that's what I would do. Another thing that I would like to see is a little bit more definition on the hair here. Maybe you can achieve that pretty quickly with a wash. Something that is not very intrusive. I really like, for this kind of stuff, the Army Painter shades. They're super good for this. They have very little tinting on the surfaces, so that is a good thing. But yeah, I would have liked a little bit more definition on the hair, and probably on the metals a little bit more care on the application, essentially. So being careful that when you apply the highlight, I know this is a rush job. This was, I think he said, 5 hours, but care, sometimes taking a little bit more time, maybe 5-10 minutes more on the highlight on the metal. Maybe you can sort of not make it so messy, especially here on the symbol. You can be messy everywhere else, but here on the very front of the model, you kind of have to be a bit more careful, because all the attention is going to be, as I said, in the very middle here. Let me just refine this, because I think it's a bit too... something like this. Let me just do it with slashes and stuff like that, just so we can, yeah, I like that better. You can see the difference from the light placement, just bringing them up to the very face. So it's more, I know, kind of moves all the attention onto the face, which is really well painted. I don't think I would change anything about the face. I think the face is fantastic. Here, for example, another simple detail for commission painters is, instead of doing the the coils on the plasma gun white, you can just, metallic, sorry, you can just do something like base coat them. I need to pick a brush. Base coat them with a white, and then just chuck whatever fluorescent paint you want. In this case, I don't know, maybe pink. Should we do pink to go in line with the cape, or green? I think I'm going to go green. Just I really like the mix of Tesseract glow and Warpstone glow, and just chuck it on top, just like that. It's not going to be the best plasma effect, but at least it's going to give another interesting detail here and there. Just to add a bit, it adds variation, it adds interest without being distracting, and people like that. People appreciate that. You can maybe do it better if you have an airbrush. You can do that kind of fake airbrush OSL that it's very popular. People like it, so that's always a nice effect to do for commissions, because people are going to be, oh, amazing, he's done all OSL in a commission, whatever. I think it's a good detail, but again, I think you're already doing quite a lot more than I would be expecting for a tabletop level. So that's awesome. Oh, we have another MVP. Woo, made it. Yes, you did. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, this is it, really, because I can't really go very deep, because this is a commission piece. So we have obvious things. This is done like speed painted. So I cannot go like, oh, you should define better here is a shade, or you should be blending more. This is not a possibility here, so we have to be realistic. Just changing the position of the highlights, making sure we have a clean application of the metallics, especially the highlights, and maybe doing a little bit of super quick plasma effect on the coils here. That's probably what I would do. Also trying to define better the crest. I would like that if that would, because it's, you don't need it. You don't need to do it on the head. You don't need to do it on the laurels here. But you will probably need to do it on the crest, because it's so close to the face that people are going to actually notice it. So I think that would be a cool solution. But yeah, a really nice job. And for 5 hours, man, this is amazing. Well done. I wish you the best on your endeavors as a commission painter. Let's move into the third one. This is Anya. And Anya has painted his first bust and the first time doing a skin. So let's see. And you can already see it's a beautiful piece. I really like it. Busts are very challenging, and you really need to give like super, like the extra. And he has done very cool things here. First thing I noticed is that the skin is really smooth, which is very appropriate for a female. We have some hues, very correctly applied hues on the lips. We have a very nice variation, very nice contrast. And so this is a very good face, especially for the first time painting a skin. I really like it. Also, a lovely detail is this reflected highlight on the bottom of the breastplate. I love that. It's a very good detail, and it really helps convey. It's one of the details that you don't notice it, because it's so well done that you don't notice it until someone points it out to you that it's there. It just looks natural. That's the key here. But yeah, I would have expected to see this on the rest of the metal that is looking downward, so we're going to talk about that. For example, we have this color here, this brown, this reddish brown, which is very good color to do this. And I would have expected to see this, for example, here in the fingers, maybe, yeah, here. Oh, it's super big. Whoops. Here. Yeah, something like that. So if there is something downwards reflecting, every surface that is pointing downwards on this green metal armor should have that same brown detail. So you should probably add it here as well. I will probably add a little bit of the purple on this side of the helmet, for example, you know, reflecting this kind of detail, like this purple reflecting on the shadows of the green. You don't notice it if you look at it, it just skips your mind, but your brain will pick it up, and it makes a very big difference. More things about this. So let's. I think the leather probably needs a bit more work. Let's grab this. So probably weather it a little bit more. So adding a bit more highlights, adding a bit more texture. Leather is a fantastic place to add texture. I will try to define these strips better with some highlights like this. And try to highlight them more towards the top, so we have a more zenithal, like creating zenithal highlights with the texture. I like that a lot on bust. Seems like bust season, says Tim. Yeah, seems like we are in the season of the busts. And I love it because they are super interesting to paint. Like this, you can add more highlights just on the front of the sword, just to create a bit more interest on this area, because otherwise it feels flat, and we don't want flat. We want again to create interest. Let me just point out a little detail on the eyes. It seems like you painted the eyes with pure white, and you shouldn't do that. So you should use a very light gray or a very light bone color. I like light gray. I actually like buff from Vallejo. I think it's like buff deck tan from Vallejo. I really like that color for the eyes. But it seems like you used white. I'm not sure, but it seems like you did. So what I would do is probably tone it down a little bit more. And then for the eyes, I like to add a couple more details. So you have the eyes here, which are green. That is great. What I like to do is add a bit more of a highlight onto the color of the eye. Seems that you have space, so I will probably exaggerate which direction you're going to choose. Seems a little like it's coming from this direction, so I will do it on the opposite, so on this side. Like this, let me just grab this and make it darker. There you go, yeah. And then when you have your like this, there you go, yeah. So if the light is coming from this direction, which seems because you have more light on this side than on this side of the face, then I will take pure white this time, and I will do like a reflection on the top of the eye here, just like that, just like that. There you go. You can see how much life that adds to the eyes. You basically change from some eyes that just look dead to eyes that look alive, more or less. Another thing you can do is just take a little bit of red, whatever red you have, thin it down a lot, like into a very thin glaze or a very thin wash, and just apply it onto the corners of the eyes, Just a little bit, just a little bit. It's just the smallest of touches, like that. And again, we are adding a life, realism into the eyes. The eyes are the most important part of the bust. The eyes are the key, so you have to really work the eyes as best as you can. Another thing that a lot of people miss when painting faces on busts is that sometimes it's not really well sculpted, but you have to take the highlights up to there. So you really need to highlight this area here, because this area usually catches light on a face, so something like that. And then you need to unify this, everything there. There you go. And probably, I will probably add a little bit more of shading onto the upper side of the eyes. You can just follow that progression of a dark burgundy. Again, just under the eye, just on this part here. Maybe accentuate the place where the light is coming from. So if you exaggerate a little bit, so something like that, like that. So very subtle changes, and you can see that we haven't done a lot to the face. Let me just grab the red again. I'm going to thin it down. You can maybe add some rosiness to the cheeks. This has to be subtle. I'm going to tone it down here so it's not as stark. Something like that. So, oh, this is your mini. Oh, wait, we have Anya here. This is it's radiation cow on the chat. So yeah, we would just add a little bit of color into the cheeks. You don't have to do this. This is optional. But yeah, very small touches, and you can see the difference on the face. Just some changes, some added highlights onto this part here. Very important. People always forget them. They are something. They're fundamental for a realistic face. As are these that you had applied here. These highlights on this part of the mouth. You did that well. You forgot to add just that extra highlight onto this part here. Darkening down maybe this section here a little bit. We have plenty of room to go to. Let me just grab this. And as I said, accentuating accentuating the natural place where the highlights seem to be going. Darkening down there, so we have like a better framing of the face. And remember, working on the eyes a little bit more. The eyes are, as I said, the most important part of the whole face, and thus the most important part of the bust, and they need to be as good as possible. If your light is coming from, choose the direction where the light is coming from, and make the color, the iris, darker on that side and lighter on the other, just like you would paint a gem. And you can see the massive difference that it makes to the whole face. There you go. So for a very, very nicely painted face, because the face itself, the skin is fantastic, the eyes are lacking. So adding detail to the eyes, and just a little bit more shading around them so they are better framed. And you can add a little bit of blush if you want. It's optional, but if you want it, it's there. And maybe accentuating where the light is coming from, so adding a bit more shadow onto this side and stuff like that, and you have a killer bust here. Very well done. This is fantastic piece. I will repeat it just because you are in the chat now. Adding a bit more highlighting onto the leather, onto the upper side. You can see the difference there. So you have more definition. Using this reflective brown that you did here on other parts of the armor, so it feels more connected, stuff like that, etc., etc. You already know what I just said. So let's just move. Thank you, Anya, for submitting this. And we will move on to the next one, which is Pete. Howard Hot Wheel, damn it, late to the party, love these reviews. Thank you very much. These are probably my favorite videos to make. And I think some of the most useful, but sadly, most of the people just don't watch them. I guess the format, the longer format, is not suitable for everyone, but I think they are a fantastic resource. So thank you for joining and liking them. Okay. We have an orc here, which is painted mainly using contrast paints and a little bit of highlighting. Okay, just see. So things Pete said that he wanted to do something simple, like simple paint job, because he was tired, and he just wanted to do something that it was mainly contrast, which I totally get. I like the skin. I think it's really well done. What I would do personally is try to apply a little bit more life into the fur here. So probably, oops. So probably trying to make like a pattern of highlight and shadows of a fur color. I would probably do like a lighter around the edges and darker to the middle, that kind of fur. So it looks like it comes from a wolf, for example, something like that. So just adding some highlights onto the outside part of the feather. And you can create different patterns for different people so they feel more natural. You can add, for example, all this can be like a triangle, lines. They don't have to be realistic, but I think it's a good detail. Just onto the outside. With fur, trying to highlight it perfectly, I think it's pointless. I think it's more important that the pattern of the fur looks good than the blending is. It's perfect and everything, every single strand is highlighted. I think that is pointless. But you can see the difference from a flat to adding just those touches there. I think it is a good thing to do. I would do the same here on the front, of course. Again, this will also help frame the face. It's a bit out of focus, but we can work with this. So, doing this again, you frame the face better, so you get more attention there. Because it's really well painted, so you kind of want that attention, and it's just super quick to do and super easy to do. I understand why you chose the blue for the bandages. I think it looks good, but I don't know if I would have chosen blue, obviously. I think these feathers need a little bit more definition, so what I would do with them is take a dark brown, whatever dark brown you want to use, and try to just put it here, like separating the stem of the feather, so to speak, from the fluffy part, so you have a little bit more definition. Because the feathers are a very important detail of the Mini. And I would probably, I would probably highlight the bone. Which you did, you have some highlights here. I think I'm going to take just pure white. So I would probably take pure white here on the top. Sorry, Mikey is just going nuts. I don't know what has happened. I don't know if you can hear him. I'm guessing you probably can, but it's something really, really funny, apparently. There you go, something like that. So you can see the difference between both claws. It really makes a big difference. And you can add the same white on the very front. Just there, just there, just there. Yeah, and also, again, if you do that, you just pick up the teeth with this highlight. And maybe here as well. A little bit more of that. My main issue here is you have a lot of very powerful colors. You have red, super saturated, you have orange, super saturated, you have yellow, super saturated, and you have a blue that is super saturated as well. I think this is too much. That's why I said I don't know if I would have chosen blue for all of these colors. I think you could maybe go for blue, but maybe tone it down a little bit more. So let me just see if we can do something about that. See. Okay. Oh, sorry. Of course, it's not working. I think I would have gone for something more on this side. Something like that. On that sort of color. There you go. Because it's still blue. It's still doing what you want it to do, but it's not so distracting. That would be probably my go-to. Because I think the feather should be vibrant, and you have a red and an orange and a yellow so intense, I think I would tone down the blue a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going for. Oh, we have play painted here. You just made it just for the very end. It would just finishing with your Mini. Sorry. I think this is yours. I'm not sure. Is this yours, play painted? I think it's yours. Maybe I should use not the real names and just I just use the name that comes from the email unless you say otherwise. But yeah, I really like it. I would just add a bit more. I would just make the fur a bit more interesting and just add a bit more definition onto the feathers so they are not just so flat. and I think I would change the blue into something more of this sort of thing, instead of such an intense blue. But that's my go-to. I think the rest is fantastic. I really like the skin. Yeah, well done, Pete. Let's move into the next one. This is Tim. And Tim has done, well, this is what you would call an experimental piece. Fully experimental. Because we have a mini that it's in complete darkness and it's just highlighted with the things that glow around him. So we have some red glow from his visor, some blue glow from his sword, and some green glow from this magic thing here. And Tim said that he wasn't sure if he liked it. I like it, but as with all experimental pieces, they are all weird. So I get what you're going for when you say that you don't like it. But what I would probably have done, I think you have added like a red highlight on the back, like coming from someplace, somewhere. I can see it here applied. I think I wouldn't have chosen red just because you have red here. I think I would just gone for an ambient light, like from a moonlight or something like that. So let me just grab a generic, like sort of generic moon color, something like this, for example, instead of this red, which I don't really like that much. I think that is why it's not working here as well. Let me just, this is too big. And if you are going to add this, you should probably add just like a cut light, just like a hint of a, just like this. Also, I don't know how the green light is going to get here. That's one of the other things that I'm not sure about, is how would the red get there. So I would just turn all this red that you added off. Just try to wipe it off. Something like that. And that adds definition to the mini. Just adds, like, it just gets the back profile better. I don't think this works actually, because I don't see a way where this green light would get there. So I would probably, the blue wouldn't reach there either. So I think this would just be better. Just sort of not there really. I think we should define this purity seals just with the cut light. So let me just grab this, make this smaller, you know, just like that, really, instead of that green there, which I don't think it works. I think I like this better. So yeah, when you want to add a light from the back, you can't use light that you used on any other detail really. For example, I know and then you also have to make concessions, because I know this symbol wouldn't be highlighted, but I think you probably want a little bit of blue there, as you would here, even if it's not realistic, just to define all of this a little bit better. Just like that. So you see, it probably shouldn't be there, but it kind of looks good. It kind of looks like it should be there. Then I will probably extend this blue highlight a little bit, just on the edges, just on the edges. I know you don't like to do edge highlights, but please listen to me, just on the edges, just there. And I think we should probably make this glow higher on the hand there. Maybe again, maybe not realistic, but just add a touch of blue on this side there, just like that. You see how it's really good. It just needs a bit more work. It just needs a bit more work. It's just halfway there. You almost had it. It's just like that. I know I know these highlights are not realistic, but they feel right. They feel like they should be there, and I think that is more important than anything else. You can see the main difference those highlights are adding. So again, with this kind of thing, you kind of have to choose a viewing point. You have to choose like the Instagram pose, and then you add this cut light, this purpley cut light onto the edges that are going to be seen, just the ones that are going to be seen. So you add definition. So you are adding again the definition. Let's just take a little bit of this red, and again just pick it up on this side of the symbol, for example. I know it's not realistic, but it feels good. It feels good. For example, continuing making sure that this whole edge will be seen red. You know, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. You can even add a little bit of red onto this side, just a touch. Just a touch, that's there. A small touch, again, not realistic, but it feels good. Sometimes we have to move away from realism and move into what just looks good for our brain. Oh, it was the Praetor model. Sorry, I just confused you. I was talking to Play Painted, which was his model was this one. So right, I really like it. But we're with Tim now. Tim says, you don't have to tell me I don't stick to realism too, at least trying. Yeah, but you need to push this a little bit further. You need to push this. You are in the right track, but you need to push this further. Let me just change this to pure black. So we add in this black. So this cut light should be like a cut light, just there, and just clean everything up, just like that. So we just go back to black. For example, you should also pick up this skull just on the other side. You should pick up this there, these bits on the Inquisition symbol, just like that. So you need everything, every single detail should be defined. So every single detail should have highlights, basically on both sides, or at least most of it. the main difference is that you kind of, because otherwise it just feels like it's not painted. It just doesn't feel good. So I think I like this. For example, you can take a little bit of the blue, just add it, for example, here and there, just a little bit, maybe a bit darker. You can probably go for a darker blue onto these details here. I'm just showing you a quick example, just like there, there, and there. Very little, just there. Maybe you can even take a little bit of the red and just touch, just a little kiss of red onto this side of the parchment. So you can do maybe darker red again, but you can kind of everything needs to be defined. It looks better. So yeah, this is it. It's a very complicated piece. So we are moving into very conceptual things. So for that, just trying, it's a fantastic thing. So I'm really happy that you did this. I'm really happy. And it's a fantastic learning experience to do something like this, where you just choose 4 sources of light, and I'm going to paint something that is in the dark, and it's just illuminated by those colored sources of light. So yeah, I really hope this was helpful for you, and I would love if you finish this personally. But if you don't want to change it, I can understand. So thank you, Tim, for your submission. Let's move into the next one. This is Jeff. And Jeff has a very lovely vampire. This is the first time painting NMM gold. And you chose probably the most difficult thing to use to paint gold, which is super intricate trim. I wouldn't have done it personally. If this was me, I would just paint this metallic. I wouldn't have bothered. But I really applaud your braveness, your courage. And so things that stand out to me, apart from that it's really well done, the gold is well done. I don't know how you can, I mean, I guess if you leave this to Richard Gray, he will probably paint this gold better, but considering that I wouldn't even bother to do it, I think that is pretty good. My main oops. Wait a second. Okay, there you go. My main concern is that I think that the highlights on the skin. So for the skin, I'm going to use a terminology that Vince Venturella uses a lot in his reviews, which is, imagine that you go from 5, which is the darkest shadow, and 1, which is the brightest highlight. You kind of have a lot of 4s, a lot of 5s, and a lot of 1s, and there isn't a lot of 4, 3s, and 2s. So I think we should. I think what I would do is try to make these less aggressive. For example, trying to don't have this super aggressive lines here. Same for here, so you have a very big highlight and a very small mid-tone and a very big shadow. So trying to make everything a little bit smoother would be my go-to here. So the skin doesn't feel as stark. Funny enough, the face is actually the best part of the whole thing, which is a good thing. I think the face is really well painted. I maybe just use this mid-tone to smooth out that highlight onto the lower jaw, which I really like to add a highlight into the lower jaw. Helps frame everything, but I think it's a bit too stark, so I would probably tone it down a little bit. Let me just grab this, etc., etc. I mean, just smoothing things out. So you see, so we have, as I said, we have a massive, like the brightest highlight, the deepest shadow, and very, very little in between. So you kind of want to reduce the fives, using the same terminology that I used before, and have very little fives and more threes and fours. Probably more threes, considering this is a woman. Also, I understand this is a blood dripping from his mouth, but it kind of looks like you just missed something that you wanted to paint red, and then you just spilled. You just touched with your brush where you didn't want to touch with your brush. So you want to convey that this is dripping from her mouth. You will probably have to take this blood and just, I mean, the fact that the nails are red and that the lips are also red are not helping here, because it's just a bit confusing. So first thing that I will probably do is just paint her lips in the normal color of the rest of the face. Just grab this. This is going to be difficult to do, but I think I'm going to try. And then I will take the blood and just make it drip. Like, make it drip, literally falling from the corners of her mouth. I'm trying to paint the face as if it didn't have the red before, which is quite difficult. Something like that, yeah. I would just take the red from the lipsticks, and I will probably, I know you want the nails to be painted, but in this case, especially if you're trying to convey a look of blood dripping, it can get a little bit confusing. And maybe I'm going to use some of this darker purple here too. You can probably do the nails in other color, something like this. And that way, there is no confusion that the red is blood. And when you see it dripping here, I will also try just get this red blood. Just not just one big blob, but also maybe, you know, some more droplets. So it's not that uniform, like this, and maybe having drop into the crevice here on the clippage, something like that. So just so it's not confusing, because you have a red makeup, you have red nails, and you have red blood in the same place. So you either take out the blood entirely, or you take out the makeup and just leave the blood. That is my take. And again, smoothing out the skin, so it feels again smoother, because again, females should, you don't really want super stark recesses and very pronounced contrast with a female. You want something a bit more a bit softer, because that just looks better. Yeah, apart from that, I don't have the back picture, but he actually sent it to me, and I didn't use it because it was really good. So the back of the vampire is fantastic. So really good job here, Jeff, and see you next month. Let's move into the 7th. This is Kindred, which has submitted this rather beautiful Blood Bowl referee. And I think it's a really good paint job. I really like the base. I really like the overall thing. The only thing that's just coming like a bit too much is the pink shirt. Maybe. I think I would tone the pink shirt a little bit. Let me just see. I can do. Oops. I'm so bad at this. Okay. So let me see if we can do something about that. Oops. Yeah, I mean, we have Kindred here. It's me. The ping was just to imitate the floor liquor jersey. Yeah, so you want to go like full referee, like the ping. Okay, that is cool. Then I won't say anything about that because I think that is a cool concept. Yeah, okay. Let's move into the other stuff then. Oh, let me just talk about the base for a second, because I really like it, but I think you can take something like Agrax or Rhinox hide or Cygor brown, oops, and just make a wash with it and just, whoops, damn, and just drop it. Drop it into the recesses here, so we have a better definition. Damn it. There you go. Just on the cracks. I like to do that when I apply the crackle paint and I'm painting over. I just make a wash with that, with a darker brown. I usually use Agrax. And you can also just apply a little bit on the tuft, because a painted tuft is a happy tuft. So you just darken the bottom of the tufts down. Another detail, I really like the skin actually. I wouldn't change it. Maybe be careful when you apply in your highlights, and be sure to apply the highlights in a more zenithal way, so you don't want this like darker green there, so you probably apply it like this. I usually don't like eyebrows, but if you like eyebrows, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to touch them. Just like that. So something like that on the face. And yeah, but apart from that, I really like how the face turned out. It's a very interesting color, so that, and it really works. It really works really well. So that is cool. Oh yeah, I knew I was going to. I just saw something and I forgot about it. So my main issue here is the black. So you are moving from black to gray super quickly, especially here on some of these edges. You kind of want a middle gray in between. So you either you either do the thinnest edge highlights you can possibly imagine, or you probably want like a in between gray there. So you kind of did the thin edge highlight, but you forgot to do the thick edge highlight, or at least looks like it. So I will probably put a darker gray there, and then you can do your edge highlight and it looks smoother. It's kind of missing a step. And also working, I'm going to talk about working with fluor colors in a bit, because they are not easy to work with. I agree with that. Okay, something like this. And it's a subtle thing. I just painted over the I'm the worst. There you go, more or less. Like that. So you can see it there, and you can see what I did there. So a smoother edge highlights because you do a two-step process. You want a thick edge highlight and a thin edge highlight. As for the floor colors are really hard to work with. So what I usually do, first of all, I've moved on from the Vallejo ones. Well, the new game color from the new floors from the game color are really good for the new game color, but I actually moved away from the old ones, from the Vallejo ones. This kind of thing, this fluor magenta and stuff like this. I moved away from this to use the Army Painter Air ones, which are really, really good. And they are more fluid, they just flow better, they're not thick and weird. What you want to do is just paint something pure white and then just apply those colors on top, and it should look more or less good. Then you probably want to add a bit more shading. So what I usually do is mix a little bit of this fluor pink, which would be there, with a darker pink. Usually you can use something like Volupus pink, for example, and it will leave you a still very intense, bright, dark pink. And then you just do some, I don't know if this has any recess, but it has like a recess. You can just help it define better on the edges, especially. Maybe add a little bit more shading towards the bottom here and the top here, like that, and keep on building that that shading. You don't want to add more highlights, it's bright enough, but you kind of want to add a bit more definition, a bit more shading. The rest, it looks fantastic. Again, it's a really, really cool piece, really cool skin tone. I really like it a lot. I think the things to fix the most are the black and defining better the shirt, and maybe have a little bit, be a bit more careful about when you apply this dark green shading onto the skin, so you don't go into the cheeks too much. But apart from that, really well done. I really like it. Really cool concept. Just close there. So we're going to move into the next one, which is Paul. And Paul has painted a very interesting piece. I think it's very interesting. And first of all, the standout here is the sword with this green reflection of the foliage here. Fantastic. This is top notch, Paul. So you did really, really well. You should be proud of that sword. It's a bit of a shame that the sword and the face are not on the same plane. So you kind of have to choose between showcasing the face, so showcasing your female, or showcasing the sword. That is something that the sculptor should have thought about. What I would have done as a sculptor is having her looking the other way. Is instead of having her looking like this with the sword on this side, I would just have her look on this side with the sword on the same hand. It's just such a simple change that would have made this piece so much cooler. Or just have the sword hanging from this. So have this hand going down with the sword here. I would just do it just because I am a bit annoyed at how this piece was sculpted. I'm really, really annoyed about this. So what I would have done is have her this arm like this with the sword here like that, and have the other hand caressing the horse hair, so something like that, and the horse hair on the other hand. I can't really understand why they chose to do that. This is not your fault, but I think it's such a missed opportunity on the sculptor here, because it's just annoying that both key elements of the miniature can't be showcased at the same time. But we're not here for that. Let me just go back to the original one. Oh. I just what the hell am I doing? I can just erase it. Okay, let me erase this. So he was talking that he found the face really difficult. So let me talk about the skin and the face. So the body looks amazing. I think you did a fantastic job on the body itself. It's really good. We have a lot of variation, we have a lot of contrast, all the highlights are placed in the right positions, everything is placed where it should be. Maybe you want to maybe you want to probably smooth out some of the shadows in some places, for example here on the bones there and there, so you don't have such an intense shadow. And the main thing is, okay, so everything on the rest of the body is really good, amazingly good. Everything is coherent with your light, which I'm going to try and do, and I'm going to try and pinpoint your source of light. So what I see is a light coming just from here. Okay, so we have like from here, and everything is coherent on the breast, on the legs, and then you get to the face and it isn't. And that is the main thing here that we need to address. So we have a highlight, our light coming there, and all the highlights are placed as the light coming from here. This doesn't work. So what we're going to do is just take this highlight color and apply it here. So that's where also you have super stark shadows on the face, which don't really work for a female. Oops, I hate this keyboard. Okay, so let me just grab, for example, here, and we can, oh, this is too dark. So you probably don't want such a stark shadow, like deep lines of shading. You don't want that. Just map this highlight here. Again, on the side of the nose, not on the... and then you have to shade this part of the nose, and you want to shade this part of the face a bit more. This. There you go. It's this part of the lip, this part of the hair, like this. Then we can add more highlights on this side, just on one side. You can add a little bit there, so like a kind of a Rembrandt light, as they usually call it. We can even move into super bright highlights on this side, just there and there. Like that. I mean, the face is not perfect. I think the sculpt is not the best, but I'm going to try and frame it better, something like that. So you can see the difference between what you did and what I did. So from there, which makes no sense on the general highlights, to there. So still is not the perfect face, but again, you usually Paul has a taste of weird sculpts, and with small brands, with small and old minis, you have to pay the price of the sculpts not being very good. So in this case, the face doesn't look like it's very well sculpted. Again, that the fact that the sword is not on the right side of the mini to showcase it is a sign of not the best sculptor. But if you put the highlights on the face on the right places, let me just take this color. I would do the same for the lips, by the way. Just there. Just there. And tone this lip down onto this side. They look, Paul says, they look much better in the pics before I bought them, yeah. Yeah, I get that. I know. It's still a very cool mini. I think it's a really cool mini, but I think it suffers from conceptual, first of all, a conceptual problem of the sculpt, and secondly, a lacking problem too. Okay, let me just make this. There you go. So something like this, and it looks better. You can clearly see that this is a better looking face. You kind of want, you can put this darker highlight just on this side of the nose. You could probably make this nose look a little bit smaller, at least here. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, face was the big problem, says Paul, and that's a huge help. Just apply the highlights like this. You have here a very good map. What I will do is I will save this for you, and I will send it through the Discord so you have it as a reference when you're painting it. Because like this, this is not flattering at all. You have more highlights on this side than this side, which is inconsistent. Then you have super deep shadows on the face, which make her look weird and old. And you kind of want a softer look to everything. I think it looks good. Again, you did a fantastic job on the body. On the body, I think the body is fantastic. Really, really, really fantastic. Well done there, Paul. This is cracking, and the sword is fantastic. So good job. Let's move on to the next one, which is Nick. Okay, let me just grab a little bit of water. It's quite hard to talk for such a long time. Nick has painted Ragnar, and he looks amazing. It's probably one of my favorite Ragnars in terms of light, in terms of the whole, like the whole piece, in terms of the mood of the light. I really, really like it. This is fantastic. I really like this blue color for the armor. It's a very good compromise between super dark and also respecting the proper Space Wolves color. I think it's a fantastic recipe, which I will have to ask you how you did. So apart from that, things that I would address is cleanliness, because you have details like this. Let me just grab this. You don't want this red spilled paint there. You really want to erase all of that and make sure that you don't have any other colors where they shouldn't be. Also, the recess shading is not consistent enough. I think you should concentrate on making this is all going to be super small details here, because this is really well painted, but things like this is what makes a paint job go from oh, that's a good paint job, to whoa, that is a good paint job. So you want your recess shading to be thin and consistent. You want all your colors to don't go anywhere else. Oh, Shreddy, this helps so much. Thank you for doing this. That's my job. Thank you for your submissions. So those kind of details, for example, here you can see that you have like a not very attractive transition from the dark to the light. So this should be thin, maybe define this edge a little bit, just a little bit. And it's just what this mini needs really is just refinement. It's just going back and spending whatever time is necessary so everything looks smooth and everything looks defined, because it's a cracking piece. This has the potential to be a really, really good piece. It's already a good piece, but you know, details like this, so you have a little bit of white here taking up this, so I would take a dark brown and try to correct this. Also, his eye is doing something very weird. I don't think that is part of the eye at all. I think you missed that. There you go. So like that. I know it's very hard to see. That's what I always use magnification when I'm doing. Maybe not at every step in the process, but when I'm refining, you really need magnification to see all of those small mishaps. Apart from that, let me just tell you, the gems are fantastic. Probably one of the best rhomboid gems that I've seen. I think what I feel needs the most work is the metallics. So, because when the light is shining on them, they look okay, but when they're not, they don't, and that's a big problem. You want your metallics to be consistent. So what I would do probably is just try to highlight them a little bit more. So make them more defined. You want, for example, a highlight across here, maybe across there. There you go. Just grab a lighter color again. So hard to paint metallics with Photoshop. Something like that. You can see the difference from that to that. You see, and that can be applied onto all of the other details. You can do the same for the chains here. So again, more consistent highlights, so the chains are more defined. They're not, because right now it's quite hard to tell them apart, and you more or less want, for example, a good trick so this doesn't happen, which is when the metallic paint is shining where it shouldn't, is use a matter paint to shade the metallic, so that matte paint is not going to shine as much when the light hits it. Small trick there. So something like this, and you can see it's a small detail, but it helps with the definition, and that's very important. Definition is the name of the game when you reach at a certain level. Because if a miniature is hard to read, it's going to be points that deducted from it, so to speak, even if you don't go to a painting competition. But still, it's like, this would be cool, but it's missing, you know, it's missing something. It's missing definition, it's missing, you know, all of that. Just grab that, because I think, for example, Just adding a small edge highlight onto the upper facing details here on the wolves on the belt. Just like that. Maybe down here a little bit. So you can see that, look for example here at the belt. The gem is fantastic, you did a fantastic job, but then, the rest is kind of not there, it's not defined. Just a little bit of definition, boom, and it looks so much better. And then the gem doesn't feel like it's alone there. But yeah, those kinds of things, very small things, because this is really well painted. This is fantastic. Let me just grab things. So another thing that I just saw is you have a little bit of the highlight color went into the recess of the braid, so be careful with that. So again, this is all refining. This just needs refining because it's such a cool paint job. Well done, Nick. Fantastic. Let's move into the last one. This is Mark. And Mark has a very out of focus flesh hound, and he has been practicing with contrast paints in my online tutoring, and he has moved from not being able to use them very well to being really proficient with them and having a super smooth result all over. So that's a fantastic job. I'm very proud of that tutoring. I think it was very useful. So he was asking, especially around the face, how that looks. First of all, if it needs more highlights. I don't think he needs more highlights because, especially for an army, this is enough. The rest of the body looks fantastic. I like that red from pink and black flowing together. Really good job. I do think the face needs a little bit more attention. He wasn't sure here on this part if it was too stuck. I think the highlights are correct. What I don't like is the pink. So let me grab this fleshy color. I think this is a fleshy color. We are going to use, I want to find something that looks like Baxman glow, so something like this. So what this, I don't think the pink goes well here. I think a flesh tone would be a better solution here. The highlights are well applied, but I think I don't like this being such a fuchsia kind of pink, like a super strong pink. I think I want a flesh tone. Like that. And then we can highlight it. And go nuts with it. Like that. I think I like that much better than the pink. Like a lot. And we're going to take this. So what another thing you can do is apply some highlights, some flesh tones onto the snout of the monster. I think you can highlight just the snout of the flesh hound with a little bit of fleshy colors. Just like that. And then I know that your claws are black, but I think that the teeth should be white, because black teeth, they just don't look good. So I would just do them with a bone color. think we can do it better here. Let me grab a dark brown. Just like that. And because the black teeth, especially with the black face, it doesn't look good. But if you do the teeth in the bone color, suddenly they stand out, you can see them, the face gets better defined. Again, definition of the details. It looks good on the claws because they are pink, because the feet are pink, but it doesn't look good on black teeth. Rarely look good, especially with a dark face like you have here. So this would be what I would try to do. I would try to paint the inside of his colors in a more of a fleshy color instead of a pink. I will maybe think about adding some flesh colors to the snout. If you don't like it because you think it looks a bit like a pig, which is it's a fair criticism, skip it and just do it black. But paint the teeth. Just erase this. There you go. It's a bit piggy the other way, but paint the teeth in the bone color. I think that is a must. Also, I think I would do. Oh, that is a good point. Let me just grab this. Maybe paint the tongue in the same fleshy colors as the color. Yeah, like that. Yeah, just like that. I actually like that. Yeah. So that's it really. I think the rest is good. Again, for the people watching, you have to consider this is for an army. So I don't think for an army this needs more highlights. I don't think for an army this needs anything else. Just changing some of the details so the whole thing looks more harmonious. It will look better with those changes onto the face. The rest is fantastic, and I really like it. Really like it. Very smooth contrast application, by the way. Well done. So, this is it. We are done. Let's see if we have more comments here, but no, seems like we are finishing. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to take part in the Royal Retinue review, let me just put this here. If you want to take part in the Royal Retinue review, what you have to do is sign up to my Patreon or become a channel member on the tier Men-at-Arms or above, and once a month you can submit pictures for me to review online for everyone to see. It's a fantastic way of improving. It's a fantastic way of getting feedback, visual feedback, and it's probably my favorite videos to make. Thank you all for your patience while I try to put more videos out. I know it has been a very long time. I've been doing some work. You can see I have new shelves there, a new digital frame for my mood. As you can see, everything is fine. And also, while I keep chipping away at my Christmas orders from my regular job, I will try and make more videos. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.